Okay, hi guys. So is a quick video on how to do the literary analysis portion of your Pride sheet. Um, remember that if you need to, you can always go back into your Cornell notes on this, which we did last week. And of course, you'll have time to do this in class. You can always message me if you have questions. But make sure you're working on it in class or asking for help in real time so that as soon as possible, so that you're not trying to get help way after it's due when we've already moved on. So basically what you're going to do is provide some notes about each part of your novel. And your goal, as always, is to show me that you both understand what these elements are. So did you understand what an exposition is and different types of conflict and so on and so forth, but also that you understand your book, right? So it's always twofold. There's always two goals here, okay? So in my book, which I was reading at the time, the exposition, and here, guys, you do not have to write a novel. Give me a sentence, I'd say 3 tops. 1 to 3 sentences total for each of these, because honestly, guys, that's going to end up being a ton of writing, right? So, you're not writing a novel here. Keep it short, keep it informative. All right. So for my novel, remember I was reading the novel where the English professor finds a body and ends up being like, an amateur sleuth. So in the exposition, because I was reading the first novel in the series, in the exposition, we learn about the protagonist, Allison, and how she is an English professor and recently divorced. Okay. Now, spelling does matter. You can fix it later or at the time. But do not turn it in with a bunch of spelling errors, guys. I just will return it to you and say redo. Okay. Again, remember the exposition. I'm demonstrating that I know which part of my book is the exposition, because the exposition is the background. It's where you introduce your characters and their background, and that's it. Conflict then starts in the rising action, and the conflict for my character. And remember, rising action could be the entire, like most of the novel, right? Rising action, Allison. This might be your longest section in this activity, the literary elements paragraph frame, because you're not really writing a paragraph. But this might be the longest section because, again, the rising action is probably most of the novel. So Allison finds a dead body. Well, actually, no, she doesn't. I'm mixing this up with another one of the books. Okay, so Allison's car is stolen. And when her car is found, there is it's not cool. There's a dead body in the car, and it's actually one of the college students. Dun, dun, dun. That's not good. Okay. In the trunk. But here's the thing. In this kind of novel, there has to be something that gets the amateur sleuth to come out of not wanting to be an amateur sleuth, just being a normal person. There has to be some impetus or some catalyst that makes them want to investigate. And for her, it's the fact that she's kind of being accused. Plus her boss gets really mad, which I think they probably would if one of your college students' bodies was found in the trunk of your car. Okay. The person was a student, and Allison has to investigate so that she doesn't get blamed for the murder. So her bosses won't be so mad at her. And so that, and just because she wants to be a good person. Because good people go and try to investigate crimes. This is also when she meets one of the detectives, ends up being her long-term love interest. Remember, we talked about that's one of the conflicts, which I'll mention in a minute, but I'll mention that here. Along the way, she starts to have feelings for one of the detectives. I'm going to spell that word wrong all day. Okay. All right. So, and I'm checking my work as I go. I'm not leaving misspelled words in this. Okay. Again, guys, I'm not writing every single thing that happens in the book, but my teacher now can see, yeah, she gets it. She knows what the rising action is, and she knows what, and she's clearly read the book. Remember, you may not have to be done. You don't have to be done with the book yet. You still have like 2-ish weeks, 2.5 weeks. So you may not be done with the book yet. That's fine. Okay. Now, the climax, though, you might have a hard time with if you're not done with the book. Okay. So if you're not, you're going to put not done with the book yet and for these last three, and you'll just we'll just kind of go from there. You might have to go back and do it later. Okay. If you don't know the rising action and the exposition, you've got a problem because you should be this far into the book. But the climax, you can the climax, falling action, resolution, you can legit just put not done with the book yet. Okay. So not, well, I am done. So I'm going to put, I am the answer. But if you can put not done with the book yet, don't leave it blank though. Actually literally write not, I am not done with this book yet or whatever. Okay. So the climax is when Allison is kidnapped by another student, and that is when she figures out that that student is the murderer. Da, da, da. Okay, woof, lots of misspellings today, but you know what? I'm fixing them because I am a good student. Okay, falling action. La 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 is the immediate aftermath. Okay, so unfortunately for her, Allison's bosses are really mean. So her bosses, I'm gonna write in a complete sentence. So Allison's boss is still mad at her, which just doesn't really make sense. But she is glad she is no longer a murder suspect. She does feel pretty down at the murder. I mean, of course, somebody still passed away, right? She's still very sad about that. Now, the resolution in this book is the setup for the rest of the series, and that is that she starts to date that she kind of starts to date the detective. So Allison and the detective start to date. Okay. Again, 1 to 3 sentences tops, right? Okay, now let's come down to conflict. You may not have every time a conflict. You probably don't. That would be, I mean, that'd be an interesting book, but or a long book. So this one is definitely human versus human, right? And I'm going to say it and then I'm going to explain it, okay? So because someone is murdered, Allison's boss is mad at her. The detectives think she might have murdered someone. And computer's very slow today, sorry. And her ex-husband wants to get back together. And so these are all human versus human. Okay. So yeah, I don't really have to say because I could have just started with someone. Okay, so there's also some, and I mentioned this earlier, there's also some human versus self because she is feeling conflicted. So Allison is feeling conflicted because she misses her ex-husband, but she knows she shouldn't get back with him and is mad at herself for even considering it. So again, she's mad at herself. Boom, human versus human. Okay, let's see. Is there any human versus nature? Nope. Is there any human versus technology, society, or beast? Nope. So I'm only going to fill out 2 of them. I can leave these here or I can delete them. Okay, you're going to have at least one type of conflict. Okay, and you got to explain it. All right, my protagonist. Okay, so again, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Allison here, showing my teacher that I know why she's my protagonist. Allison is a protagonist because Because she is the main character. She is likable. Even though she is not perfect, she does some really dumb things while she's investigating, and honestly, she probably shouldn't be investigating anyways, but whatever. Overall, the reader, that's me, likes her and wants her to do well. All or most of the action in the novel is based around Allison. Right? Okay. Double check. Novel. Okay, now the antagonist. The antagonist is the murderer. It's also a little bit of her ex-husband. There could be more than one, right? So there are several antagonists in this novel. First, her husband, her ex-husband is not nice and tricking her to like him again. That makes him an antagonist. Also, Allison's bosses are super mean, always causing her problems that impact her progress and actually are part of the reason she goes into becoming a sleuth, right? It's part of the reason is because they're mad at her and impact her decision to try to solve the murder herself. Try to solve the murder herself. That makes them have an impact on the plot, otherwise known as the sequence of events or the conflict, making an antagonist. Finally, the murderer is an antagonist because they murdered somebody. That's pretty clear, right? Okay. Now, the last thing here in this part is the setting. I can't remember the name of her little town, but it's New Jersey. And there's nothing about it being, she's got cell phone, there's no flying cars, she's not riding around in carriages, so there's no specific time. So it's contemporary, right? If they don't say a specific time. So this novel takes place in New Jersey in contemporary times. Okay. Now the tone again, that's how the reader or the author feels about the subject. And so that is the tone of this novel is light-hearted. It's meant to be funny, right? It's funny, it's lighthearted, even though of course someone dies. That's not good. That's sad. But it's lighthearted. Nobody's crying for that person except for other characters in the novel. And as is sometimes the case, the mood's the same. That's how I felt. I felt lighthearted when I read this book. It's not suspense, it's not a thriller. Okay, guys, I hope that helps. Have a great day. Bye. Love you.